traveling is not all it's cracked up to be sometimes. For instance, I just had to change rooms from the 8th floor of this hotel to the 11th floor because the wall of my hotel room was shaking. There was no room on the other side of the wall. There was no crazy washing machine like it sounded like there might be. There was nothing there. The wall was just shaking and keeping me from getting this episode recorded. And I had to go drag all my stuff out, up to another floor, into a different room. Frustrating. However, there are perks to all this travel. I find pinball to play, and we found lots of pinball in the last 24 hours, 48 hours even. So we'll discuss that and more on episode 139 of Coast to Coast Pinball. Let's go. Welcome to Coast to Coast Pinball. My name is Nate Shivers. This is a podcast, a commentary. I am a man out of quarters. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining me, whether it's your Thursday morning drive time, your Thursday commute home, or if it's 4 years into the future and you're just finding this show and I've long given up podcasting and don't even play pinball anymore, and you're just getting into the hobby and you heard that there was this crazy guy who did a bunch of shows a few years ago. And so anyway, welcome to this show, coming to you not live, February 25th, 2015. It's a Wednesday night. We're here in Brooklyn. Well, that's not true. We're in Long Island City, but I'm going to claim Brooklyn because Brooklyn's cooler. But anyway, yes, so I'm in New York. Last night we did episode 138. We had John, Doug, and Mark from Papa, and it was such a fun show. Very cool interview. Huge downloads. I posted on Facebook earlier. It was the second most downloads I've ever had in 24 hours of Coast to Coast Pinball, second only to Roger Sharp, and it was actually the most website traffic I've ever had. So every once in a while, I do an interview show, and almost all the feedback I get is really positive. Lots of positive feedback, like, oh, that was so awesome, this was so great. Every once in a while, I get an email or a message somewhere that just says, hey man, like, just stick to what you do. Like, I don't like the interviews. And that hey man voice that I do is what I always imagine it sounds like when I read this. And I get a little paranoid, like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't bother with the interviews. Maybe I should just talk and run my mouth. And then I see how popular the interview shows are, and I go, oh yeah, people like the interviews. So I really appreciate you downloading and listening. That's what I get out of it. Thank you very much. Todd Anderson, friend of the show, Todd Anderson, you're too good to me. You're too great. Enough said. I'll email you. Thank you. You're awesome. So let's get right into 139.
Trip reports.
With all the happenings last night with the Papa guys, I didn't even get to tell you about my previous night. I spent Monday night on the Jersey Shore in Asbury Park, New Jersey, home of the Silver Ball Museum, which is, I've talked about it many times on the show. It's one of the gems of location pinball in the country. I put it in the top 5 of locations that I have ever been to, and probably just based on game list and condition and other reports of other places I haven't been to, probably top 5 in the country. Period, end of story. It's on the boardwalk. It's on the ocean. It was so cold down there. And there's this great little oasis of pinball. And I say little oasis, I mean 100-plus game oasis of pinball. And if you haven't been to the Silver Ball Museum and you're into classics and EMs and early solid states especially, you are missing out. This is one of the finest collections of classic games you're ever going to see. From wood rails to wedge heads to Gorgar and Centaur and Close Encounters. It's all there. Evel Knievel, yes, Playboy. I mean, there's so many games. It's so great. And for 3 hours, I played pinball from 2.5 hours, I guess. I closed the place out, as I say, 6:30 to 9 o'clock. I don't think there's ever more than 5 people in the place. I had the run of the place to myself. They also have a really nice growing is an appropriate word, collection of later model DMD games and alphanumerics. They have actually just a very cool mix of games. You also have a Wizard of Oz. You have a brand new Pinball Magic, Capcom Pinball Magic, which was the newest game. You have things like Doctor Who and Theater of Magic, The Shadow, and just lots of really good games. For the most part, their games are in fantastic shape. I did find myself kneeling down and messing with leg levelers a few times last night just to get a couple things a little bit more flattened out. I say last night, it was 2 nights ago. I'm losing. When you travel like I do, days just sort of blend together and you lose them. So this is all this trip. But I had a lot of fun. I am in what I call in my head, because I drive a lot and I have a lot of time to overthink things like, pinball and what's coming up in pinball. And sometimes I'm obsessed with what game am I going to go try and hunt down and buy or find or play or whatever it might be. And then sometimes I'm obsessed about a tournament coming up and Papa's coming up, and they've announced the games for the different divisions at Papa. And I have had to kind of make a decision, what division do I enter? Because, I'm the guy who entered C last year and then sort of felt like, wow, well, there's all these great players in C. I'm going to never do very well in this. I'm going to bump up to B just for the experience. And I did that last year, so I got to kind of see both. So I kind of said that I thought there were players that were way too good in the C division for a beginner's division, and anybody that's that good at pinball in general and has as much experience as some of those players did, and it may have only been a few, should probably get up out of the beginner's division. And the argument to that, and it's a great argument, was, well, A, they're allowed to be there, so Nate, shut up. I got that argument, totally understand. And B, get it, the B division is brutal. I mean, the B division is like, this is not some substandard group of players. These guys are really good. And so maybe, the C guys don't stand a chance there, so that they're playing where they can play. And I think, as we talked about last night with Mark Steinman, I think they agreed with that on some level, and they added a D division this year. So you think, and Josh Sharp, when he was on the show last, said you should play in the lowest division they will let you. And that's been ringing in my head. Nate, play in the lowest division they will let you. Well, I'm not going to do that, and here's why. I really believe, and this is just me personally, this is just my opinion, I really believe there should be a division for people who don't know all the rules to pinball, who haven't had any experience in a Papa before, in like a big tournament setting before, and who don't own games, the really true beginner players. And what they're doing, which is very cool, I believe at Papa, based on the way it's sort of been laid out, is the D-Bank division of set of games is also the seniors division set of games, is also the juniors division set of games, is also the split flipper games. So it's sort of like the catch-all bank. And it's a bank of, I believe, 7 announced games. And in full disclosure, it's not a bank that lines up to my eyes very pretty. I don't think I would fare well on these games anyway. But I really feel like me, Mr. 139 episodes of this show, and I obsess about pinball, I read about the rules, I watch Bone Karen's tutorials, I watch other people's gameplay videos on YouTube, I search some of the games out. I don't think I should be in the beginners division. I'm not even saying I'm that good. I'm probably skill-wise in the D division, yes. But I just think sort of mindset-wise and experience-wise, I should get out of that division and play in the C division. I think the C division will be a good place for me this year. So, obviously I'm not going to B. B's tough, and A is just, you know what it is. It's a firing squad of killers in A. So, in the C division, here's the games that have been announced. Tales of the Arabian Nights, Metallica, Godzilla, Taxi, 24, Surfin' Safari, X-Men Limited Edition, NBA Fast Break, Centaur, and Shadow. So that's an interesting mix of games. It's not a set of games that by any means I'm super comfortable with. And in fact, there's a couple games in there I just downright don't like. Surfin' Safari, horrible for me. I've played it a couple times. It's never held my interest long enough to actually learn it or try and learn the shots and get good at it. And NBA Fast Break is literally the bane of my existence. I've never been any good at that game. A lot of people call that a great game for a beginner because it's so obvious what you should do. I just suck at that game. However, there's actually a couple bright spots on that list of games for me. Centaur. I've always done well on Centaur. Centaur is actually in my B bank, my B card that I turned in at Papa last year. I had like the 43rd best score on Centaur, which I know that doesn't sound all that great, but in that group, that was actually pretty good. Centaur has always been a game that I've known the rules on. I played one when I was a teenager. I remember really specifically this one like corner shop arcade thing that I guess you'd call in Nampa, Idaho, had a Centaur and a Pinbot, and I played Centaur quite a bit. I've always kind of known the rules, know how to get the multi-ball right off the bat, so I've always been able to play Centaur fairly well. Shadow. For whatever reason, I shoot well on Shadow. I play that game pretty well. So there's a couple games in there that I'm like, yeah, I can do that. Tales of the Arabian Nights, I love that game. Not very good at it, but I'm going to study that one. Metallica, the rules have changed on that so many times, I need to like have a refresher course. Godzilla, I think I've played twice in my life. Taxi, I'm pretty good at Taxi. Taxi, I understand that one. I understand how the pickups work. I understand how the locks work. That's potentially something I can do. 24, we're going to talk about in a moment. And X-Men LE, I like it, not good at it. So anyway, looking at this bank of games, I was at the Silver Ball Museum, and I was frantically finding this list and saying, okay, all these games at the Silver Ball Museum, they've got to have some of these here. And they only had 2. And the 2 that they had there were Centaur and Shadow. So I spent, out of my 2.5 hours at the Silver Ball Museum, probably half the time on those 2 games. All the games on that row, and the guy, I saw one of the guys working there, he's actually working touch-up on an older game. He just kept staring at me because I was just playing Centaur over and over and over again. I was scoring pretty good on it. So that's me in like training mode, trying to practice, trying to get the shots, muscle memory working on the shots and really know what the rules are, and trying to find bailout shots. You know what I'm saying? When things get a little hairy, like where do you kind of aim for in the back of your mind to just get the ball up and away from the flippers and take a deep breath. Played the Shadow a bunch. Their Shadow is really nice. It's a great example of the game. It was a little off level, so I was trying to kind of get the right side pulled up a little bit because I saw the ball was coming down and moving to the right. And that game has some long straight ball drops where there's the one Shadow lock, kind of the magnet lock in the back when you're locking balls from multi-ball. So it was very obvious that game wasn't totally level. So Silver Ball Museum's a great place. I had a run on Scared Stiff. Like, a lot of people call Scared Stiff a, quote, easy game, which I think is just tempting the gods of pinball. It's kind of like when you play golf. You don't ever say, oh yeah, this course is easier than the other course. You say, this course is less difficult than the other one. And that's how I feel about pinball. Scared Stiff is not an easy game. It might be a less difficult game than others. But I had a run on Scared Stiff where I got all the way through the Scared Stiff mode and then back like almost halfway to it again, and just really, really good, and put up, I think, the 3rd or 4th high score on Scared Stiff, and got my initials on it, which makes me so happy. It makes me so happy to leave my initials on a game, which was the only one of the week so far. But anyway, I know I've talked about the Silver Ball Museum a lot of times. If you're doing a New York City trip, it's about an hour and 20 minutes from the city, depending on where you are. If you're in North Jersey or from like the Newark airport, it's only about an hour. Pretty easy to get to. It's mostly freeways. There's another great arcade with pinball down that way in Red Bank, New Jersey, called Yestercades, that I didn't have time. I was on a pretty big time crunch Monday and Tuesday. So there is more pinball in that area. So not a bad place to stop by if you're not going to actually be in New York City, New York City. So I had business in Middletown, New York today, and I got done fairly early. And instead of going and having a nice leisurely lunch, I decided I would instead go to another great location pinball place in my work territory that I've mentioned on the show before, but I think it needs to be brought up again because it's so cool, and that is Rock Fantasy. Rock Fantasy is a smoke shop. It's a head shop, etc., etc. And Rock Fantasy has an awesome collection of pinball machines in the back room. I think there's like 30 games back there. I was very focused again because, as you know, I'm in Papa mode training. I was there to play a few games. One of them was the game 24. I have a guest coming on the show next week who I was sort of messaging with about the C division and asking for his advice, and he told me 24 would definitely be a game that I should focus on. It would be good if I could go learn those shots somewhere. So I took his advice and spent a quite a bit of my lunch hour on the game 24. And it's a game I didn't know very well. I've played it a couple times, never really knew the rules, but looked them up on my phone, watched a few videos late last night, and figured out how to repeatedly start Suitcase Multiball, which I think might be one of the lamer named multiballs in all of pinball. Suitcase Multiball. In the context of the theme, I see what they're doing there, but I still think that's an awfully lame name. So I was very pleased with myself. I felt so productive on that game. I can't tell you how good I felt, because I started in one game. I started Suitcase Multiball 3 times in one game and put up like 65 million. That's good for me. That's really good. Now, I'm not saying I can go do that at pop-up, but what I'm saying is the muscle memory's getting there. And hopefully, I'll get to see another 24 to try it on. Spoiler alert, I did that tonight. So, had a great time at Rock Fantasy, played 24, also played their X-Men. Now, they have an X-Men Pro, and I'm looking for an X-Men Limited Edition that'll be at Papa, but, we're in the ballpark here. A lot of the same things apply. I wish I could tell you I had the same success on X-Men as I did on 24, but I hadn't really dove into the rules anywhere on X-Men, and I don't understand that game. I will admit ignorance here. I don't understand that game. I'm going to understand that game. That's going to happen, but I don't understand it. I got multi-ball started a few different times. I got the villain multi-ball. I got the Professor X multi-ball. I got the Magneto multi-ball. So I had, maybe it wasn't villain multi-ball, but I got the Sentinels mode going. So I actually put up a couple decent scores, but I also put up a couple really bad scores. But let me tell you something about Rock Fantasy. If you're ever in Middletown, New York, which, bit of a stretch, I know. Middletown's about an hour northwest of New York City, in beautiful Orange County, New York, home of the Orange County Choppers outfit, as seen on TV. You got to go to Rock Fantasy, because one thing about Rock Fantasy is the games are loud. You get cranked up volumes. You've got shaker motors everywhere. You can get a shaker motor. The place is rocking. Steve has such a fantastic collection of games there. I got to chat a little bit with Steve. I don't think he knows who I am. I don't want to bother him all that, but he's such a cool dude. He's playing super heavy metal throughout the shop all day in the afternoon, and the games are just loud, and it was awesome. Played a bunch of Harlem Globetrotters too, just to kind of get my classics up, and that's a tough game. I was really trying to hit all those inline drop targets. Played Nitro Ground Shaker a bunch. Played Medusa, played some other stuff. It was good times. Played some AC/DC. Just working on skills, trying to get my game better, So Rock Fantasy, another great place. I know they just had the Rock Fantasy Open this past weekend. He said it was a great day of pinball. Over 30 players were involved there, so very cool tournament. And, just a really good dude with a really good collection who's seen the ups and downs of pinball, as they say.
Trip reports.
More? There's more? There's more trip reports? Really? Yeah, there's more. So, I had another appointment in the evening, got done about, 6:30, 7 o'clock. And I got on Twitter and sent a message to Al, Pinaholic, of the New York City, Brooklyn areas, who operates a lot of the pinball machines around Brooklyn and New York City. And threw out a message like, hey, is there a WrestleMania on site somewhere? Because I thought I had seen on Twitter somewhere that Al had a WrestleMania going, and a friend of the show, Gene X Wong, was just all over it, immediately replying like, yeah, I think so, and giving me an idea. And there's supposed to be one at the Cave in the Creek, but it's not there yet. However, there is one at a new bar, a place that just opened last year called the Pop Bar in the Astoria, Queens area, and I went to the Pop Bar, and I met the owner, younger guy, he bought his own bar, he's got it going, it's got live music, they show movies, and they've got 5 pinball machines, They have 24, hey look, I got to play 24 again, Simpsons Pinball Party, AC/DC Pro, Star Trek Pro, and WrestleMania Pro. And so that was awesome. So I asked him how pinball was doing for him. He said it was great. He said that people were coming in every day since WrestleMania was announced that it was there and playing it and checking it out. Really cool little bar. So I had my soda water and lime. I actually got to take my jacket off because the heat was on strong enough. It's freaking cold in this area right now. And I put a few dollars into WrestleMania, and I think I played 9 games, because it was 3 plays for $2. And let me tell you about WrestleMania from what I saw and played. It's different. It is not like anything else I've ever played. Everyone's been trying to say, oh, it's kind of like Joker's. Well, okay, yeah, there's this upper playfield where you have little rollover lanes. It drops down. But that's where that ends completely. I don't know what to compare that game to. The inner loops are tight, tough shots. The left little tag team loop that kind of loops around, think sort of like, like a Star Trek away mode shot, but on the other side, or actually it's more like the fuel shot for Metallica, really, off the edge of the tip of the right flipper. Tough shot, but the ramp shots to get up into the ring are actually pretty easy. At least I found them fairly less difficult. And for one thing, the ring on this game is so much bigger than I expected. And it's the exact same feeling I had when the first time I walked up to a Walking Dead and was like, oh my gosh, that well walker guy is giant. First time I saw, Wolverine in person, like, whoa, that's big. Well, getting to see WrestleMania in person and seeing that diamond wrestling ring for the first time, that thing's big. And you're up there a lot. I mean, off the plunge, you're up there, I would say 75% of the time in the ring. There are ways for the balls to fall out of it, and I didn't even realize this till I saw it in person and then went back and looked at photos. If you look at the photos, say if you go to Pinball News or somewhere like that has the good high-res photos of the WrestleMania playfield, and you look at the words Slam Attack and Rope Attack, above those words on this very top upper tier, the third tier on top of the game, there's like a teardrop-shaped hole on the left and the right side. The ball actually falls down into that a fair amount of times, in this game especially on the right. So it has, I think, 5 lanes to drop onto the ring, and then 2 lanes to drop into these holes, and then I think it can also, depending on the gate, roll down the ramp. So you do end up in that ring a lot, which was my fear. The slammers, the little, flipper slammer things in the ring, it's interesting. It's different. I've never played anything like this before. I started to get the rhythm down to where you could hit the targets and then try and I was only ever to really, on purpose, hit the pin shot, the little saucer shot, from the right side, the blue side slammer, consistently. I was actually getting pretty good at it. And the whole thing's just sort of different. I played it for probably half an hour. I think I got 2 replays on it. I got close to getting my initials on it and didn't quite get there. I enjoy it. I don't know that I love it, but I like it. And, the artwork's terrible. It's horrible. They're doing really good with the WWE logo, and the bonus countdown's awesome, and the belts, the title championships are cool. I hate the photos of the 4 main guys above that. I'm not into that at all. It's just a real busy looking game with the little cutout guys with like lines around them to sort of try and blend them into the artwork. I don't like that at all. I like the LEDs. The colors are pretty cool. I don't know what I feel about that ring. I feel that ring should disable itself more so that you can't just keep the ball up there for as long as I could. Because one thing is you have 3 rubbers around the lower posts where the flipper slammer guys are. And so you can sort of learn to nudge and bounce that ball around and keep that ball up there for a long, long time. I could see somebody getting good at that, a really good player, just staying up there forever. Now, you can also exit out the left and the right-hand side, which when you get the ball moving pretty quickly does happen. And that's sort of an awkward exit for the ball. I thought that felt a little weird out the right side. When it goes out the left side, if you look closely at the photos, there's actually a little wire form there that sort of abruptly ends with a little kind of like ring around the end of it, kind of like America's Most Haunted's wire forms end with just a little ring. But this one sort of just drops it off onto the playfield, sort of out in the middle, which is a direct left flipper feed. it's different. There's just so much different about this game. So I am sorry to Mr. John Trudeau. I'm not negative on this game. I'm currently optimistic on this game after playing it a bunch. The rules are it's pretty early days on the rules. I did get multi-ball started, the ref multi-ball, by shooting enough of the ref shots. And maybe one other. I wasn't getting the tag stuff to work, trying to hit the tag targets. That didn't seem to be happening for me. The WWE stand-up targets that are in the middle and off-axis, those aren't as dangerous feeling as, say, the Mustang stand-up targets to me. Those felt like you could kind of get to those fairly easily and safely. One other thing of note, and maybe this is my imagination, I need somebody to verify this that knows more about design and geometry than I do. I feel like the slingshots are very vertical on this game. And maybe it was just I was playing something else earlier that had a different shape to the slingshots. I don't know if that's standardized on Stearns, but I felt like the slingshots were just so vertical that they almost just went, really, really fast left to right with not much upward angled motion to them. Not necessarily a bad thing, just, again, I'm going to use this word, different. A lot of stuff about this game is different. The scoring, totally different than other Stern games I've been playing recently. You can win a lot of points for winning your wrestling match by getting a pin. Like, I would be at, say, 4 or 5 million points on the game and win a match and get 6,500,000 points for winning the match, more than double my score. And I'm sure I'm building that up by hitting the targets inside the ring. I'm assuming. I don't know for sure. But that was going on. And then it's been talked about on other shows and been typed about on Pinside. The bonus countdown's a big part of this game. You can get millions of points with the bonus countdown, and I like it. It's cool. It's different. It's a throwback. I do like it. I am optimistic. I really want to play an LE because I think I would really dig the artwork of the LE and kind of the vibe of having the classic wrestlers that I grew up with on that. But it was a solid feeling game. The only thing that I could tell you that felt a little maybe not super great to me was I don't love the hole that the ball falls in, which is like right below the wrestling ring. It has a little feed that it can go left or right on the two wire forms or straight down into the pops through a little hole. I don't like watching a ball sort of wedge itself down a tiny hole like that. I kind of drives me crazy. And honestly, the wire forms themselves, the left and the right ones that end in the little loop, those are so thin and small. It's cool because they're out of the way a little bit, and they kind of remind me of like lighting trusses that you might see at a pro wrestling match, holding all the lights above the ring, which is neat. But the ball, I did have the ball fall off them a couple times, and they are just really kind of thin. It's going to be one of those things where you could bend those very easily if you're in there modding your game or messing with stuff. But the ramps themselves felt solid. The skill shot was fine. It has a gate where you can soft plunge. So there's lots going on, though. There's a lot more going on than I think I realized. That was my fear, was too much time in the ring and not enough to shoot at. I think there's enough going on in this. So that's my last bit of trip report tonight. Oh, and I will tell you, I had similar results on the 24 that I played at the Pop Bar tonight. In fact, I put $2 in 24, and they had the replay set really low because it was almost embarrassing how many replays I was getting with my little skill that I've learned how to backhand the suitcase multi-ball shot over and over and over again. So, yeah, that was a lot of fun to kind of recreate what I had done at the last 24 I'd played. So, anyway, if you're a New York-based guy and you're in the Queens, Brooklyn area, Pop Bar, really cool little place, easy to get to, not a super high-density area. So I assume that's going to be a definite place for the pinballers in the New York area to start hanging out and playing games.
Random number generator game reviews.
It's been a while. Nothing like random number generator game reviews on a winter night in February, right? So, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, what we're talking about here, We go to random.org and we take the number of pinball machines currently listed in the top 100, 200, 300 on the Pinside top 100 list. We find out what that number is. I'm currently scrolling, trying to find that out. We're on to page 3. I think last time we did this, there was close to 300 games. So it looks like it maxes out at 300 now. So I'm going to type 1 to 300 in this random number generator, and it's going to pick a number. And I'm going to go to the list, and whatever number this picks, that's the game we're going to talk about. And we all cross our fingers. Well, at least I cross my fingers hoping I know something about the game. I have a feeling there's a few friendly listeners crossing their fingers hoping I don't know anything about the game. But anyway, so that's what we're going to do here. Let's hit it. Generate. Result is number 208. That scares me right off the bat. Number 208. Monday Night Football. I can tell you this. I don't know a whole lot about Monday Night Football. But I do know that it has a lifting ramp in the middle of the playfield that lifts up and a field goal post behind that also like rises up. And you have to hit the ball from the flipper up this like piece of the field, because the playfield's like a big football field, and then up through this field goal post, and then it then connects to like a clear plastic ramp, if I remember correctly. And then it has a couple big stand-up targets back there when the ramp goes down. I've only played it a couple times, and it's been a while. It's a Data East game from the late 80s, not a high-run game whatsoever. I think it does have classic Monday Night Football announcers in the game. Not a popular game out there. I'm actually trying to quickly find out the exact number of these built. Looks like everyone's saying 1,492 of these built, designed by Joe Kamikow. That's a tough one. I know it has an ugly topper of a referee with his arms in the air. Don't know much about it. I've never seen one on location, recently. I think there was one on location when I was much, much younger somewhere, and I played it. Football theme has been tried before. It's never been that successful. So, sorry that this random number generator game review is not very in-depth. I don't know a lot about Monday Night Football other than it's not all that interesting to me. I don't think it's a very well-reviewed game. I mean, it's sitting at 208 on the Pinside top 300, so I think that's all I really know there. Sorry. All right, after the failure of random number generator game review, I can safely tell you that the mailbag, I will not fail at the mailbag. All right, here we go. I'm going back a ways. I think I skipped literally 2 pages of emails last time I tried to get into the mailbag. You can always email me at coast2coastpinball@gmail.com. All right. Hey, Nate, I love the show, and I have to thank you. My wife has been pretty against me buying a pinball machine for our apartment since we only have a 1-bedroom, and she doesn't really want a game in our living room. But I have been listening to your shows nonstop and playing Pinball Arcade on my tablet the past few months, and you have won her over. Let me explain. Episode after episode, you bring so much enthusiasm to this hobby. My wife literally has started to have the itch to play a real pinball machine. We live in an area of Texas without many location games, none, and she has finally agreed that we can buy a game this year as long as she agrees on the title as well. I think hearing you and Teresa talk about pinball and have so much fun was the final straw that won her over. Thanks. So my question is, she wants The Hobbit. I would rather have AC/DC. How much do I fight her on this? Thanks again, Mark in Texas. Mark, you fight her 0. Less than 0. You give her what she wants. She wants a really expensive, awesome-looking, beautiful game. Buy her a Hobbit, man. You've got permission now. I think that's awesome. I think that's one of the great things about what Jersey Jack is actually doing with his games so far, with Wizard of Oz and The Hobbit. He's reaching out past all of us sort of like people who grew up on classic pinball. Those of us who grew up in the 80s and 90s, and those of you listening who grew up in the 60s and 70s even, you have an idea of what pinball is in your mind. And so you can see a game like, you can see a game like Jackbot, which on the surface isn't really all that special, right? It's kind of a lot of boxes, a lot of little inserts, but we know how magical and special that game can be. Whereas someone who's didn't grow up into pinball, wasn't excited by it, like many of our significant others maybe, possibly, who didn't have that kind of youthful arcade, experience. The Wizard of Oz and The Hobbit, with their full screens and the back glasses, can drag some people in. It can drag people who didn't grow up going to arcades. It can drag, younger people who just never really saw pinball, because it is so visual and it's so high def. It's the full HD experience in pinball. And that may be part of what's drawing your wife into it. And she may just be into the source material of The Hobbit and the whole theme and whatnot. So, if that's what hooks her and she's really into it, that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? She's only going to want more. I don't care if you're man, woman, or child. I think your gender doesn't matter at all. If you get into this hobby and this thing, you get obsessed. And I think it's awesome that we're seeing more and more women start to, become bigger, quote, players in the pinball hobby. I think that's awesome. So good. So I'm glad. I take it that you were listening to the shows out loud. I get emails from time to time, people saying they've gone back and they started at the beginning and they're listening to all the episodes, and I can't even fathom, because I don't know how good some of those early episodes actually were, and I don't know how relevant all of it still is, but thank you. That's cool, and I'm glad that I somehow played some part in your wife deciding to go for the game. That brings up another point. Living in a small place, the condo that Teresa and I lived in before the condo we're in now, I think the most I ever had was maybe one game in that place. I think I only ever had a game at a time. And it was tough because it was a 2-bedroom condo, but that second bedroom was our office and it was small. And so I've moved from 1 game to 5 games in our current condo, which is really too many. But a 1-bedroom apartment, because what if somebody's trying to play pinball and somebody else trying to watch TV? That makes it very difficult. So space concerns are real. That is very, very real. We all need to go buy bigger places. All right, moving on in the mailbag. Thank you, by the way, Mark. Appreciate the email. Greetings from your former state of Delaware, your former home state of Delaware. I'm surprised somebody knows that. You got to be listening really closely, because I only lived in Delaware for like a year. I don't even know when I would have said that. Anyway. Have you considered doing more video content for your site like you attempted a few times last year? I really liked your Lexi Lightspeed video with part of your podcast dubbed over the top. I see your video section is gone from your site. Just curious. Thanks for all 135 episodes. PK. PK, it's funny you mentioned that. Yeah, good catch. I did pull down the video tab because I hadn't added anything to it in a long time. When the podcast started taking off, when I started seeing the listenership go from, a few hundred to multiple thousand, and it kept growing, I thought, oh my gosh, I got to do more. That was my instinct, was must do more. And the first thing that really dawned on me was video, because I was going to these shows where there were games being debuted or shown that nobody was really getting to see unless you were at the show. So I wanted to try and bring that to everybody. And I noticed early last year, there weren't a lot of people doing video. Fast forward just 6 to 12 months, there's a lot of people doing video. And I'm not sure if it's in my best interest or Coast to Coast Pinball as a podcast best interest for me to try and spend my energy and time on putting together video content. It's cool when it's something neat like Lexi Lightspeed, or like America's Most Haunted when it was first shown, or when John Papaduke brought his KISS prototype. I thought those were cool because if you didn't see it in person, you had no idea. And I got to kind of bring that out. And I'm not ruling out doing that, but man, doing video is a whole other undertaking. And when I was juggling that and juggling the show and doing all this, I started to kind of, feel like I was spreading it all a little too thin, and I don't want to get away from this. I love just talking about pinball. I love talking to people about pinball, whether it's on the show or in person, and I love just kind of riffing on the happenings of what's going on in the collecting side of it, the playing side of it, the the competitive side of it. I really like just talking about it and having this as a creative outlet. There's other people who can do video and probably do it a lot better than I can do it. Which actually segues me perfect into something I had in my notes to talk about tonight. I have been considering trying to use Twitch in some form on and off for the past year, because Twitch was, a big video game website for people to, log in and watch other people play video games, right? Seems pretty basic, but it's been picking up steam for pinball. Papa has moved their Papa TV lives to Twitch, so twitch.com/Papa TV is where that's at. And you can go see the old episodes, by the way, of Papa TV Live on twitch.com. Just do some Google searching there, you'll run into it. I also wanted to make mention of one of the most active pinball Twitch feeds going right now, and that's friends of the show, Dead Flip Pinball in the Chicago area. Jack Danger, who probably has the coolest name in all of pinball. It's his name, allegedly, Jack Danger. And Nick Campbell not only have been doing, I think they have something like 80 shows up on Twitch, and I've gone through and watched a bunch of the Twilight Zone shows, and basically what they do, Monday through Friday, every day, almost every day, is play pinball for an hour and record it in high def and stream it live on Twitch. And you can watch them, and they have special guests come in and play. It's like the hangout in a cool room with a bunch of pinball machines, and they try and rotate different machines in and out of their studio there, and it's just kind of awesome. It's really cool. I don't know how you get to do that every single day. I wish I had that life right now where I could play pinball and video it every day. I'm so incredibly jealous of these guys. But recently they've launched the Dead Flip Pinball Podcast, the Dead Flip Podcast, and I listened to their first 2 episodes today while driving all over the state of New York, and really liked what I heard. Really energetic, enthusiastic guys who are clearly really into pinball. They're putting their money and their time where their mouths are. They run the Dead Flip League in Chicago. They're in. They've got an awesome logo using the Chicago flag with the red 6-point stars on white and the blue is on a flipper logo. It's just everything about it's very cool. It's very well done. It looks right to my eyes. I like it. I like their podcast. They're trying their take on their podcast. Yes, another pinball podcast, which I love. Their take is to really go from the player's perspective. Like, I think they're forgoing a lot of the talk about news and the hobby and collecting, and they're really trying to focus on, what does a player think about? How does a player get better? How does a brand new player just getting into pinball, pick up skills that will make them better players? And I think that they're going to include a lot of their life experiences and their pinball experiences in their podcast, as well as not just tips and stuff. So I wish them the best of luck. They said really kind things about me and Coast2Coast Pinball, so thank you very much. And to Nick and Jack, I'm a fan already. I've been checking out your Twitch feed. They emailed me like weeks ago, and I haven't even replied because I've been busy, and I'm a bad podcast host. But thank you guys very much for the shout outs, and keep up the good work. I look forward to checking you guys out daily on Twitch when I can, and the archives are there. So deadflip.com is their website. You can see the glorious mustache. I don't actually know who's who on these. I'm assuming the guy with the glorious mustache and the aviator glasses is Jack Danger. I'd be really shocked if that wasn't Jack Danger. I get confused on their Twitch feed sometimes because they often just go right into it and they're playing. And I believe Nick Campbell is wearing the dapper suit. So anyway, kudos to the Dead Flip boys in Chicago. And let's call that episode 139, shall we? I think we shall. I don't know when 140's coming. Maybe tomorrow night. You just never know. Really looking forward to getting out and traveling, meeting some folks, and playing some pinball. Keep the emails coming. I will try and read all that I can, get through all that I can. Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate all the feedback on the past few shows. It is not unnoticed. So until episode 140, thank you for listening to Coast2Coast Pinball, and enjoy yourselves. Take care.